Wonderful. So let's begin. So welcome everybody to the conference with Le Cercle des Langues. Today we will be discussing introducing yourself and others. We will learn how to introduce yourself and someone else in a simple, natural way. Tonight's conference is level A1 to A2. So for the next 20 minutes or 25 minutes, we will discuss, or I will take us through the conference. And for the last 5 minutes, we will have a question and answer. So please feel free to put your questions into the chat or write them on a piece of paper. So let's begin. Tonight's conference will have 4 parts. We have the basic self-introduction. The second, we will learn how to introduce people in different situations. We will then talk about cultural differences in introductions. And number 4, we will be asking and answering personal questions. So if you would like to, you can find a pen and a notebook so you can take notes throughout the conference today. So introducing yourself and others is a key skill for building connections in different situations, from work to social events. Learning common questions and responses will help you communicate naturally and confidently. So let's look at the vocabulary, or how we do a basic self-introduction. So there are many different ways to greet someone. In a formal greeting, we would say, "Good morning, my name is Anna." In a neutral situation, we could say, "Hello, I'm Bob." In an informal setting, we could say, "Hi, I'm Anna." And in a casual setting, we could say, "Hey, I'm Bob." So saying your name and asking for theirs, we could do this in many different ways. 3 ways we could do this are, "I'm Anna." "What's your name?" "My name is Bob." "And you?" "Hi, I'm Anna. Who are you?" We could also state our nationality in 3 different ways. We could say, number 1, "I am French." Number 2, "I am from France." Or number 3, "I come from France." Remember that for every country, there is a nationality. So if you come from France, you are French. If you come from Spain, you are Spanish. If you come from Italy, you are Italian. If you come from Germany, you are German. If you come from Japan, you are Japanese. If you come from Brazil, you are Brazilian. And if you come from Canada, you are Canadian. There are also different ways that you can say your profession. So here are 3 examples. I'm a student, teacher, doctor, engineer, musician. I work as a student assistant, a waiter, a nurse, a software developer or a designer. I study at university, in college, online, at a language school, or at a training center. So here are two examples of full introductions. And full introductions is how we bring all of this information together. So Anna says, "Hi, I'm Anna. I'm 25 years old. I'm from France. I'm a student. What about you?" James says, "Hello, my name is James. I'm 27. I come from the USA. I work as a teacher." In example 2, we have Lisa. She says, "Hey, I'm Lisa. I'm 30. I'm Spanish. I work as a doctor." And then Tom says, "Hi, I'm Tom. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Canada and I'm an engineer." So if you would like to share, would you like to write your introduction and put it in the chat? And I will gladly read it out, only if you would like to. Just a way to share a little bit about yourself. So I'll start with me. So hello, I am Chanel. I am 36 years old. I am from South Africa and I am a teacher. So that is my introduction. If anyone would like to share their introduction, you may now put it into the chat and we could read it out for the rest of the conference. Wonderful, Cedric. Thank you for sharing. So Cedric says, "Hi, I'm Cedric. I'm 40. I'm French and I work as a nurse." Celine, who was also very kind to share her introduction, she says, "Hello, I am Celine. I am 43. I come from France. I am kind of a project manager." So thank you, Cedric and Celine, for sharing your introductions. If anyone else continues to put it into the chat, I will gladly read it later or close to the end. Oh, we've got one more. Mireille, thank you. She says, "I am Mireille. I'm a nurse. I come from France and I'm 60 years old." Thank you, Mireille. Raymond says, "Hello, I am Raymond. I'm 60 years old and my job is highway operating officer." Wonderful introductions, everybody. "Hello, I am Celine. I am 47. I'm French and I work as a payroll manager." Thank you, Celine. Oh, Delphine. "Hello, I am Delphine. I am 42 and I work as a teacher." Beautiful. Something that is very interesting about Mireille, she put it in a different order, and that is also okay. If you put your age first, then your occupation, it is also perfect. We don't have to have a strict order of information. It's good if we just say hello and have our name, and then if you put your age or what you do, that's fine. Okay? So, Catherine says, "Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm 62. I come from France and I'm retired since 2 weeks." So it's just important to remember that since in English, on utilise since with a date. On utilise for avec une durée. So it would be, "I am retired for 2 weeks." Congratulations, Catherine, and thank you for sharing. I hope you have a wonderful retirement. So let's carry on. Thank you, everybody, for sharing these wonderful introductions. So now, how do we introduce people in different situations? We have another Mireille, numéro 2, excusez-moi. So she says, "Hi, I am Mireille. I live in Normandy and I have chambre d'hôte." And we've got Jean-Charles. He says, hello, I'm Jean-Charles. I am 65 years old. I'm from France and I am retired. So thank you so much, Jean, for sharing. And thank you, everybody, for participating. So now, as we said, we are introducing other people. So how do we do that at university, for example? We have some tips. Mention how you know the person and keep it casual but polite. For example, this is Sarah or Sarah, my classmate from economics. Meet Tom. We are in the same study group. Hey, have you met Anna? She's also studying computer science. And number 4, I'd like to introduce you to Mark. He is in my history lecture. We can often make certain mistakes. So sometimes we can be too formal. I hereby introduce you to my fellow academic peer, John. So when we are too formal, it could make everyone uncomfortable. Another mistake is if we are too vague. So too vague means we don't give enough detail. This is Lucy, for example. How do we introduce someone at work? A helpful tip would be mention the person's role or department and to use a professional but friendly tone. For example, this is David, our new marketing assistant. I'd like or I would like to introduce you to Emma. She works in HR. Meet Alex. He's the IT specialist who fixed our system. Let me introduce you to Lisa, our sales manager. What are the mistakes that we can make? Lack of context. For example, this is Mike. He does things here. Unfortunately, that makes it seem as though we are not interested in what Mike does, which is not really good for our relationship with our colleague. We can also be too formal, too informal in a formal setting. For example, hey boss, this is my buddy Jake. So it is not very appropriate for this setting. At social events, what should we do? Find common interests to mention, and we keep it light and friendly. For example, hey, this is Sam. He's also into photography. Or meet Laura. We met at a cooking class. One of the mistakes we can make is forgetting names. This is, what's your name again? It can happen. So in a situation, if you have forgotten someone's name, it's maybe a good idea to find out their name before introducing them to someone else. In online meetings, a tip could be mention the person's role and why they are in the meeting. Another good idea is to keep it short and clear. For example, everyone, this is Sarah from the design team. Or let me introduce John, he's leading the new project. A mistake in this situation could be not checking technical issues. For example, this is Anna. Oh, I think she's on mute. So now that we've covered the different kinds of settings where you will introduce someone, let's look at cultural differences in our introductions. What are the differences between France and the United Kingdom? In France, people often greet with la bise, which are the cheek kisses, even in informal settings. In the UK, people usually shake hands in formal situations and say a simple hi or hello informally. So a handshake is common in both countries, but the French tend to use it more frequently, even among acquaintances. So what do we do in a situation where you are saying your name and you are asking for their name? So in Italy, people often greet with 2 cheek kisses, but in some region it's 3. In Germany, we do a firm handshake, which is expected, and eye contact is very important. In Spain, friends and acquaintances usually give 2 cheek kisses. So what are some tips for introducing yourself to British and American people? Number 1, you keep it simple and friendly. A handshake, a smile, and nice to meet you work well. We respect personal space. So unlike in some cultures, British and American people prefer more distance when meeting someone new. And number 3, avoid overly formal greetings. So in casual settings, hi, I'm Chanel is enough. There's no need for elaborate introductions. Asking and answering personal questions. So common introductory questions, we need to look how do we form these questions in the present with do, does, and to be. With do or does, we often use them for actions and for habits. And the structure is do or does, depending on the pronoun, plus the subject, plus the base word, and then extra information. For example, do you work here? With to be, we use this for identity and descriptions. We often have to be with the subject and the extra info. Are you new here? Normally, we would also use what we call the inversion method. So, c'est la méthode inversion, where you put the verb before the subject. Common introductory questions. So the top 5 questions for work introduction and common responses. What do you do? So that is a way to ask, what is your profession? I'm a project manager. Which department do you work in? I work in marketing. How long have you been with the company? I've been here for 2 years. Where are you based? I'm based in the London office. What do you enjoy most about your job? I love working with different teams. Common introductory questions can also be around social events, and most common responses are, what brings you here? I'm a friend of Sarah's. How do you know the host or the person? We went to university together. What do you do for fun? I love hiking and photography. Have you been here before? Yes, I love this place. Where are you from? I'm from Canada, but I live in Paris. And we could take it further to certain questions only if you feel comfortable. For example, what's the most exciting thing you've done recently? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? And what's a fun fact about you that most people don't know? So please, if you feel comfortable, you can answer one of these questions in the chat. So only if you feel comfortable, put your questions in the chat. Remember, only if you feel comfortable. What's the most exciting thing you've done recently? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? And what's a fun fact about you that most people do not know? So I think I'll answer the first one. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? So I am actually living where I have always wanted to live. I now live in France. So that is something interesting about me. Would anybody else like to share? So Cedric says, I would live in New Zealand. Beautiful. Raymond says, Stresa, Italy. Beautiful. Catherine says, I would like to live in Canada. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to share? No problem. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Let's move on. So, in conclusion, introductions are an essential part of communication, whether in professional, social, or casual settings. By learning different ways to ask and answer questions, you can make conversations more natural and engaging. Practicing these skills will help you feel more confident when meeting new people. So, thank you everyone for joining this conference with Le Cercle des Langues. And I think we just had Delphine who said that she would like to live in Tahiti. Also a very beautiful place. So thank you everyone for joining the conference this evening. Do you have any questions or is everyone good? No? Wonderful. So remember to download the PDF from the chat. And it was lovely meeting you too. I will see you next week for another conference with Cercle des Langues. So thank you everybody and have a beautiful weekend.